Why this story matters. This story offers a refreshing look at how practical solutions and human effort can create real, positive change. Quick summary: this story highlights recent developments related to On This Day, showing how constructive action can lead to meaningful results.
47 years ago today, the Vietnamese Army Coalition FUNSK, or the Salvation Front, succeeded in storming Phenom Phen, Cambodia, ousting Pol Pot, and halting the Cambodian Genocide.
The conflict began less than a decade after the Fall of Saigon, but the Vietnamese forces were still strong enough to reverse attacks on their southeast by the Khmer Rouge, invade the country, and topple its government. They succeeded in just 2 weeks, proving yet again their remarkable prowess on the field of battle.
1969, the flag of Pol Pot's Democratic Kampuchea public domain, the Vietnamese military intervention and subsequent facilitation of international food aid to mitigate the massive famine ended the genocide, which had killed between 18 and 30 of Cambodia's population.
In 1990, after 10 years of occupation by Vietnam, the rickety institutions of the nation's political structure were resurrected by a UN-led transition.
During the first elections of the state that holds power today in Cambodia, a coalition government was formed in order to prevent succession of eastern parts of the country, which supported the local Communist Party.
A constitutional monarchy was established, and the country has been at peace ever since. Would you like to read more good news about On This Day and this day in history? In a strange turn of destiny, Vietnam found herself vilified by most Western countries despite being the only nation willing to put an end to the Khmer Rouge genocide. The part that Vietnam played in the 1930 transition in Cambodia also saw her re-establish relations with many of her near neighbors and eventually Western nations, such as Australia and her former enemies, the United States, in 1930. More good news on this date. Galileo Galilei observed the 4 largest moons of Jupiter for the first time and named them. The 4 are known as the Galilean moons. 1516, Frenchman Jean-Pierre Blanchard and Bostonian John Jeffreys used a balloon to complete the first aerial crossing of the English Channel. 1517, as George Gershwin completed Rhapsody in Blue. 1917, of all the first transatlantic telephone call was made from New York City to London. 1917, the Harlem Globetrotters played their first basketball game and would combine athleticism and comedy to create a world-renowned traveling show. 1918, years ago today, the Teatro Amazonas in Manaus, Brazil, held its first performance during the head of the city's rubber boom. It was voted by Vogue magazine as the most beautiful opera house in the world, despite being built straight in the heart of the Amazon rainforests. To debut the theatre, celebrated tenor Enrico Caruso came to perform the Italian opera La Gioconda by Amilcare Ponchidelli. Teatro Amazonas, Manaus CC 2.0.
Raphael's art inside the building is dripping with European craftsmanship.
The theatre's architectural style is considered typically Renaissance Revival. The roofing tiles were imported from Alsace, the steel walls from Glasgow, Scotland, and the Carrara marble for the stairs, statues, and columns from Italy. The dome is covered with 36,000 decorated ceramic tiles painted in the colors of the national flag of Brazil. The interior furnishing came from France in the Louis Quinze style.
Italian artist Domenico de Angelis the Younger painted the panels that decorate the ceilings of the auditorium and of the audience chamber.
The curtain, with its painting Meeting of the Waters, was originally created in Paris by Crispin du Amaral. The theatre's 128 chandeliers were imported from Italy, including 30 of Murano glass.
1008, and happy 69th birthday to Katie Couric, the television news anchor and talk show host who has been called America's sweetheart.
She was featured in GNN in 2016 for voluntarily cutting her pay by $1 million to save dozens of jobs. Her 2012 book, The Best Advice I Ever Got, Lessons from Extraordinary Lives, became a New York Times bestseller.
Ella's Portfolio CC license. Couric has been a host on the big 3 American television networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC.
She has also produced numerous documentaries for 60 Minutes and other networks, including Fed Up, a look into the obesity epidemic in America.
In 2006, she was named anchor of CBS Evening News, becoming the first solo female anchor of the Big 3 weekday nightly news broadcasts.
Losing her husband John to colorectal cancer in 1978 and her sister Emily to pancreatic cancer in 2001, Couric became an exceptionally influential voice in raising cancer awareness. After she used her position as 15-year anchor of Today to broadcast herself getting a colonoscopy in 2000 and a mammogram in 2005, scientists determined that the Couric effect led many people to get cancer screenings who would not have otherwise done so. Winning multiple television awards throughout her career as a broadcaster, she collected a Peabody Award, one of the highest for journalism in the country, especially for her series confronting colon cancer. 1977 also, heavy metal metastasized in mainstream music 55 years ago today with Black Sabbath's release of Paranoid, containing some of the band and genre's most iconic tracks such as War Pigs, Iron Man and Paranoid. It would go on to settle 10 million arguments about what the first heavy metal album was. Black Sabbath Paranoid album cover. Fair use.
Selling 4.5 million copies worldwide, the album contained many topical references to the Vietnam War, which the band opposed.
However, it was pressure from the record company to avoid backlash that saw the album's name change from War Pigs to Paranoid. What does a bloke dressed as a pig with a sword in his hand got to do with being paranoid? I don't know, but they decided to change the album title without changing the artwork. Osborne said in 1928, and 28 years ago today, the Canadian government, in an elaborate ceremony formally